Vladimir Putin publicly threatened Armenia with open war today. The Russian dictator stated that the Armenian authorities should hold a referendum on joining the European Union, a goal declared by Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. After that, Putin said that if Armenia seeks to join Europe, it will face the same fate as Ukraine, because Russia will not simply let the country leave its sphere of influence and is ready to impose its will by war. And it should be noted here that Armenia is not just moving toward Europe, but is also leaving Russia's key alliances, namely the CSTO and the EAEU. In this episode, we will break down the entire history of the conflict between Yerevan and Moscow and how real Vladimir Putin's threats are. I'm Alexei Pechiy. Let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this episode, leave any comment under this video, and subscribe to my Telegram channel. Pechiy News, the link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So let's go through everything step by step. Vladimir Putin stated that the authorities of Armenia should hold a referendum on the issue of the country's accession to the European Union. And next I'll give such a telling example. Imperца Putina. It would be right, both in relation to the population and to us as the main economic partner, to make a decision as soon as possible, for example, to hold a referendum. It's not our business, but it would be logical to hold a referendum and ask the citizens of Armenia what their choice would be. Then it would be possible to go down the path of a soft, civilized, and mutually beneficial divorce. And here, any psychologist will tell you that everything said before "but" doesn't matter at all. So Vladimir Putin says that this, of course, is not the case, and then Putin further emphasized that the war against Ukraine began, quote, with the country's entry or attempt to enter the EU. That's it. That's quite a revelation. According to him, as a result of a series of events and President Viktor Yanukovych's refusal to integrate with the EU, a coup took place in Ukraine, which led to Crimea. The story of Crimea, the position of southeastern Ukraine, and ultimately the hostilities. So there's no need to take things to the extreme. We just need to state in a timely manner what we're going to do. There's nothing special about it. Everything just needs to be calculated. And the Armenian side needs to do the math, and so do we, said Putin. So in fact, Putin threatened Armenia that Russians will stick their dirty nose into their affairs and are even ready to resort to armed action, just like they did in Ukraine in 2014. Putin added that this is a serious issue and noted that Armenia's plans to join the EU could become a topic of discussion at the EAEU summit. And here, let me remind you of the entire chronology. The process of Armenia leaving the Kremlin's orbit became irreversible back in March 2025. A year ago, when the country's parliament officially passed a law to begin the process of joining the European Union. At that time, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan openly stated that the European path was incompatible with membership in pro-Russian blocs. Next is a quote from Pashinyan from August 2025. We can't have it both ways. The moment of final choice will come. And if Yerevan decides to leave the EAEU, we will make the appropriate decision. But Putin is furious, possibly not even because of this. The events of the first week of May 2015, the events of the year were, well, quite a slap in the face for the Kremlin. A summit of the European political community was held in Yerevan, which became a demonstration of Western influence in Russia's so-called backyard. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky also arrived in Yerevan, where he was welcomed as a key ally. For Moscow, this was taken as a personal insult. That's when Putin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called it abnormal. And the Russian Foreign Ministry's chief drunk, Mashka Zakharova, accused Yerevan of actions against Russia's security. And now Vladimir Putin reminded everyone that the Russian Federation remains Armenia's main trading partner. That's true, almost 40% of the trade, hinting at a complete economic blockade. It's important to note here that yes, there really is a dependency. Armenia's dependence on Russian gas and the management of the Metsamor nuclear power plant. These are the main levers Moscow can use to pressure Yerevan. On the other hand, Moscow has officially admitted that the CSTO no longer protects Armenia. The presence of French military advisors in Yerevan, which Emmanuel Macron announced at the summit, is interpreted by the Kremlin as an intervention. That is, Armenia has found itself in a transitional stage. This is truly a dangerous stage. As of May 10, Armenia is one step away from officially leaving the EAEU and CSTO, but let's be clear, it hasn't left yet. Putin has issued an ultimatum. Either Yerevan stops its European integration through a referendum, the outcome of which Putin of course hopes to influence, or Russia will set in motion a destabilization scenario similar to what happened in Ukraine in 2014. But Yerevan understands this as well. It is negotiating with Europe to make the transition less painful. But Armenia shouldn't be seen as weak, because right now these pompous Russians are shouting about who Armenia thinks it is. This morning, the office of Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan released a brief but tough statement in response to Putin's ultimatum. First, they rejected the referendum. Yerevan made it clear that it is not going to hold a referendum under pressure from Moscow. Here is a quote from the statement. Armenia is a sovereign state. Our development path was determined in the parliamentary elections and enshrined in the law on European integration. We do not see the need for additional confirmations of a course that is already state policy. And I would also like to note that Armenia also has its own leverage over Moscow. I mentioned that Macron is already prepared to send his military advisors to Yerevan for a reason. Sources in the Armenian Foreign Ministry hinted that if Vladimir Putin, as he himself put it, wants a divorce, then Armenia will demand the complete withdrawal of the 102nd Russian military base from Gyumri by the end of 2026. This would be the complete total end of Russian influence not just in Armenia but in the entire region. Friends, I'll put an ellipsis here, but I want to immediately remind the Ukrainian-speaking audience that I have launched a completely new, exclusively Ukrainian-language YouTube channel where every evening we sum up the day with a focus specifically on the Ukrainian agenda. Therefore, I will leave a link in the pinned comment to this video and in the description of this episode, a link to the new Ukrainian-language YouTube channel. Head over there and subscribe if you still want to see the news in Ukrainian. Write your opinion and your conclusions in the comments under this video. And of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this episode. And if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so financially with any donation or a paid channel membership. You can find the links and payment details in the description of this video or by using the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.